Welcome back to Step Teachers Isolation Diary. This is episode 2, and we are joined today, or a returning guest, by Chris Kinread, who is the Director of Grad to Teach. And we have special guest, Callan, who is actually a director of the Reflex Theatre, and he'll be going over his company in a little bit more detail shortly. We just wanted to thank you for tuning in for last week's one, and we hope that you will continue tuning in weekly every Friday. So, Callan, what is the Reflex Theatre?
Reflex Theatre. Hello, everybody. Thank you for the guest slot, Aidan and Chris. Reflex Theatre. The idea for Reflex started about 5 years ago when I was with the National Youth Theatre. We did a massive ensemble piece in the Barbican School for Girls, 100 cast. And as part of that, me and a couple of other guys got tasked to create a repetitive scenario around 3 guys in a virus containment station. How apt for now. And we found actually that because of the repetitive nature of it, we got bored really, really easily. So we thought, okay, is there something that we can switch up? Is there something that we can do differently every single time? So it's not exactly the same. It is genuinely different every time. That worked really, really well. And then we went our separate ways, and it kind of got me to thinking about, actually, how can that work instead of just being one part of a huge, massive thing? Can that actually work sustainably for mainstream audiences and be able to be seen differently every single night organically? That started the process of me creating our way of working. And if you think of it like a roadmap, we know where everyone's starting, we know all the characters that are involved, we know the issues, we know the themes, and we know the backgrounds of everybody who's going to be involved within this particular piece. Here's B, which is where we want to get to, the message we want to get across, the conclusion we want to say. Here's A, here's B. However you get from A to B, completely up to the performers within that moment, as long as they get from A to B. You don't want to end up in C, which is like Glasgow somewhere. That's the whole ethos of Reflex Theatre. In terms of what we're doing at the minute, obviously theatre is shut down. So we've had to take a little bit of an interesting tactic, especially as we're a bit of a new start-up operation. I'm the Education and Outreach Manager, as well as an Artistic Director of Reflex Theatre, along with my partner, Megan. I also oversee our brand new social integration initiative, which is primarily for people who've got special educational needs, autism of any kind on the spectrum, and for people with profound and multiple learning difficulties. But of course, social integration can mean anybody. We were going to start face-to-face sessions to help with their communication skills, their interaction skills, and their imagination skills. It's quite difficult to do social integration in times of social distancing, though. So we took the exercises online, and they are currently freely available on YouTube for anybody to watch. We've done 3 episodes so far, and it's been really, really lovely, the response we've had. We've had lovely feedback from our partners at Asperger's East Anglia, NANSA, Autism Anglia, the Hamlet charity, and we're getting so many wonderful videos of people having a go at these exercises themselves. And it's really just to help a community bond together still, even if it is through a screen. And obviously when things go back to a more normal, regular sense, and they may still struggle to socialise, then we want to go in and say, okay, thank you for doing the exercises, now let's do it proper, as we were going to do anyway. So that's what we're up to at the minute. We also do scratch nights for new writers to send in their work, very similar to the roadmap, as I mentioned. They send in their first page, they send in their last page, we do the rest. So they can see where a character's journey could go. It may be something they've never thought of, could be dialogue rhythms of a character they want to see. And we're also doing some development for a TIE show, Theatre and Education show, which is about how students can make a right choice and they can actually influence a character's direction within a show. Meaning that they will genuinely see something different every night, and that's our motto, really. You know, theatre performers want to make something different every night as much as possible. We've actually come up with a system where you can. We just hope it works.
That's the adventure, isn't it? It's into the unknown. If you built your model around improvisation, then that's what people pay to come and see. They pay to come and see that it isn't quite polished and it isn't quite perfect. And
well, see, that's a challenge, because what we do want to aim for is the polished and the rehearsed aspect of it. We use a method called rehearsed improvisation, where, as I say, everybody knows what their characters are, and they know what the relationships are, they know the situations that they live in, and we're trying to make something which is as an accurate microcosm to real life as possible, because, you know, we do very, very similar things every single day, but at points we will make a choice that changes our life direction. Obviously it's then finding those situations and condensing it down for people to watch and go, oh, he's chosen this, and then maybe another night that character won't choose that and actually will go on a different path, and then people will respond to that appropriately and blah blah blah, what have you. We don't really do the short form aspect of it. I don't know if anybody's watched Whose Line Is It Anyway at home, or, you know, Fast and Loose from BBC Two.
Theatre sports.
The very stand-up nature of it, or the long-term improvisation stuff. You know, they do 24-hour improvathons, which is based in, you know, comedy. Megan's a part of the Intellectual Hooligans in Norwich, and they are incredible at short-form improv. Obviously, our improvisation methods are a little bit different, so that's the challenge, and we're developing that and finding new things and new challenges to kind of smooth that road out for us.
Okay.
So I've seen that you've uploaded 3 episodes to your YouTube channel. Is this something that you're going to be continuing going forward?
I think so. I mean, depends on obviously our workload and schedule. I'm finding time either on a Thursday or a Friday to do the exercises with Megan, but also then go and record the introduction, the explanation, any shout outs for anybody who wants to support us. Which we are offering, of course. If anybody wants to get in touch with us, there is a handle in my name at Reflex Theatre. That's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or just search us up on YouTube. There is also an email, reflextheatre@outlook.com. And if you want to get in touch, we'll obviously shout out your services that may be of benefit to people during the lockdown. All we ask you to do is share the video as widely as possible so that many people can benefit, and we can get in touch with service providers of special educational needs, service users, so that they can then be helped in a more comprehensive context when we can do the face-to-face sessions. In terms of the online stuff going forward, when lockdown ends, yeah, we want to keep it up as long as we can, because it is a nice addition to the sessions that we would do, and also it is just quite fun to do. Megan never knows what the exercises are; she just knows the names of them, and just going through an exercise with your partner and just exploring something that you may not have done together before, it's just a wonderful little moment, and I hope that is then translated to people who then do that exercise at home as well.
I suppose the idea is that through improvisation you get to practice the social skills. Is that kind of, I probably oversimplified it, I understand that, but
no, you've got it pretty spot on. With, let's say, I'm going to use Asperger's East Anglia because we've got a really good relationship with them at the moment, and I spoke with them via a Zoom meeting with all of the members who were present, and they said, okay, these are the issues that we face, social cues, knowing how to recognize emotion, knowing when to switch up a conversation. I know a couple of people repeat a lot. So using improvisational techniques, we look at exercises that can either break that rhythm that they would get into for a repetitive exercise and then activate synapses that respond appropriately. And by appropriately, I don't mean by not swearing or anything, but in terms of the context that they're in. So if they've got a conversation about cats, it would then be an inappropriate conversation to talk about pirates. I don't know, you know what I mean. That's the sort of stuff that
never inappropriate to talk about pirates, in my opinion, but I take the point you're making.
Cat pirate.
There you go.
Yow, me mateys.
Just need a segue. I think that's in terms of how well, because of social interaction, it's about eye contact, it's about being with the person. How effective do you think the intervention or the process is over the video, over the things that you've put in place while
That's the
social
challenge.
distancing.
That is the challenge. I was on Future Radio yesterday, Tuesday, because we were recording this on a Wednesday. And I was asked, what is the big challenge that you as a theatre company are doing? And, you know, a lot of people are in front of the TVs, they are in front of a screen, and it is a challenge to interact and really get a message across. And if you're skilled, and you've been trained in, and hopefully I've been trained enough to talk to you guys at home, and get my message across clearly and actually feel like someone's actually talking to you. In the theatre, you get that because you're actually next to the person. It's live. Whereas something here, you do have to suspend that disbelief just a little bit. If the person isn't putting everything into the camera or into the interaction. That's the challenge we're facing. In terms of the pre-recorded exercises, you know, it's easier because I do a take. I mess up my words, I just retake, I do it in the edit suite. But in terms, if we were to do something live like this, that would be very, very interesting to get right. And not just by getting the exercises right and saying you're doing the exercises well, but really having that sense of, actually, I do feel connected with this person who I'm helping and integrating with. I do feel connected with them.
Yes, yeah. I know. Look, there is. I suppose there's lots of advantages as well, isn't there? So if you're learning strategies and ways to connect with people, I suppose if you're using video, then or even if you're just using a recording, the pupil can watch back and see how effective or how good they were, which is quite a useful tool actually.
Oh, definitely. In terms of progression, you know, if it's recorded and they can see, actually, this is where I was, and this is where I am now. We did an exercise again when I was training in drama school, where we just write down on a bit of paper strengths, current strengths, and then on the flip side, stuff we want to improve on. And then we seal that envelope away and we don't look at it for a year. And then on the anniversary of that envelope being sealed, we open it again. And every single time we weep, because we think, wow, that is where we were and this is now where we are. And with these video exercises, if they stay online, then obviously it's almost a good diary, I think, for people to go, okay, this is where I started with this particular exercise, object naming, treasure chest, 1, 2, 3. And this is, I'm so proficient within these skills and these have helped me do X, Y, Z within my social integration and my communication improvements, my imagination improvements. And it is always like an epiphany moment to go, actually, where I am right now is really, really good. And where I've been is just a testament to how much I've grown as a person, or I've developed through these exercises. And that's really what we want to do, and just reach out to as many people as possible, really.
Cool. Yeah.
So is there any cost to what the Reflex Theatre offers?
The online stuff is completely free. Because, as I say, it's available on YouTube, and we want it to be available to everybody who may be struggling in lockdown. I know that obviously schools are shut, so if kids still do want to practice their social integration, especially if they're young, and they've got special educational needs as well, then it's something that you can do in home and freely available. In terms of the sessions, there's a couple of ways that we want to do stuff. We want to offer this for free to SEN providers and potentially special educational needs schools if we're lucky to get in touch with any. The way we do that is we would partner businesses with particular providers or charities and say, these are the sessions that these businesses will be supporting you for and through, so you can get free access to crucial skills through arts-based learning. The session cost for the businesses will be £100 a session, and that is either a 1 hour, 1 hour and a half session, depending on the needs and the abilities of the service users. Because I know a lot of people may struggle with, you know, attention for more than an hour and a half. You know, as a teacher, it's difficult to keep a class for an hour, I tell you. But anyway, in terms of the other option, if businesses aren't partnered or fund a struggle, then we do have an outreach rate of £50 a session. So we can take up to about 25, 30 people. So if you do the math, that's about £2 per head for a session. That's our kind of thing. If it's the £100, then, as I say, the business will be supporting that. And then our aim is not only to provide access to the arts that is, freely accessible as much as possible, but also we've got a duty to our artists to make sure they get paid a fair wage, especially coming out of this lockdown where they will be very, very needy for work.
Yes, an industry that's 98% unemployed anyway, even when everything's swinging along, and then to shut every theatre and shut down every avenue of money for them, that's only going to exacerbate an artist's struggles at the moment.
Reminds me of the grim reality.
I used to do it, so yeah, I failed, so now I've got a silly job.
No, it's not career change. What are you talking about?
Yeah, okay.
I'm currently a cleaner, mate. What are you talking about?
Good.
I was going to say, so do you have any requirements that schools need to follow, or can it just be any kind of space?
I mean, as long as the space is safe enough for practical exercises to be used, we do real world simulations. Or we can do it, we tailor these sessions so that if a school or a provider has specific needs, we can meet those needs. All we need is a space where people can be comfortable in. A lot of our sessions that we originally designed with Headway North staffs to help people with brain injuries, they were done sat down in a circle. So it can be done like that. Obviously with social distancing measures, that would need to just be a little bit of a wider circle, but that's still more than doable. And then when it's safe to do so, when social distancing measures are relaxed even more, a hall space, a classroom space, as long as there's enough space for people to just kind of gather and move around freely, that's absolutely fine. And the only other requirement that we'd have is a staff member from the school or from the provider in the room, for safeguarding reasons, and also making sure that they can see the benefit for what they're getting for their service users.
I mean, this must be. You've touched on the fact that you're a teacher. That's how we know each other. That's how you work for Kim's marvelous Norfolk team, supplying all of the things in between these very exciting projects. We touched on mental health in the last episode, and I suppose we're talking to supply teachers, to teachers, to anyone with a permanent job, that the change in routine, the difference, it's affecting everybody's mental health. But that must be magnified for students with SEN even further, that they're suddenly, their routine changes massively, and they're being homeschooled, and then, as you say, on Sunday we're likely to hear new relaxing of rules. We hope that means that their routine will change again. How is that going to impact SEN pupils, in your opinion?
I mean, arguably, as a special educational needs person myself, because I've got Asperger's syndrome and my siblings are autistic, I completely sympathise with them, and I know exactly what it's like for a routine to just go like that, and your whole world feels like it's turned upside down. And especially for people who may not be able to communicate in a more traditional sense, that feeling of frustration, that feeling of actually the help I need to deal with this, it can just be an absolute mind cascade. In terms of how, it's a difficult one. It's really difficult, because I think in terms of staying sane as well as staying safe, a lot of that is going to be through your connections and staying integrated. That's the whole reason we've got these video exercises online, is just trying to create a community to go, listen guys, everyone is still here for you, especially us, and if you struggle with socializing with people, this is how you can do it. One of our exercises, 1, 2, 3, which was our second episode, it's an exercise that you can do over Skype or Zoom, face-to-face via either if you live someone or if you live with someone. If you don't, you can do it via camera. And yes, the exercise can do this and that, but actually just the act of being brave enough to call someone, whether that be via phone or just get in touch via messenger, send them an email, just something. Humans are creatures of social need, social habit. You know, I know a lot of people who unfortunately die in isolation outside of lockdown, you know, people who don't have any contact communication. So this stuff that we do, it is a lifeline, and it is so important that we reach out to as many people as possible who may be feeling like they got no one.
Yeah, I mean, you've got great credentials, haven't you, really? I mean, you're a trained actor, a trained teacher, and experience of using these techniques personally as well. I mean, if somebody is looking for an intervention, you'd be coming to the right person if they came to you. That's for sure.
I use that as a reference. Thank you.
Yeah,
Chris.
no worries. Put it down. That's
Testimonials.
impressed.
Well, I think that will do, to be honest, because Zoom is going to kick us out in about 8 minutes. So, do you want to plug your socials, your Facebook, and your email address one more time just before it ends?
Yep, definitely. If anyone wants to get in touch over the socials, Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, the handle is in my name right here, @Reflex Theatre. Do check out the video exercises. It's called Social Integration Online. If you search that in YouTube, or Reflex Theatre Social, whatever's going to be easiest for you guys. We also have an email where if you are an SEM provider and you do fancy that these services could be for you, or a school, if you fancy that these could help your pupils in these trying times or even afterwards, then the email address is reflextheatre@outlook.com, and either me or Megan will get in touch with you to discuss how we keep this going and start a relationship with you. And if you do like the video exercises, do share, do subscribe, and do hit the notification bell on the video so that you don't miss a single one. And the only thing I'd say, guys, is stay safe and stay social.
Yeah.
Great.
All right, thank you both for joining us today. Next week, we're going to have a new subject on the Friday, so stay tuned for that. And we look forward to seeing you all there. Thanks again, guys.
Super. Thank you.